started with those horrible events in Charleston, which have turned into that kind of incredible outpouring of faith and love and goodness and a renewed desire to stop the kind of racial discrimination that's gone on in our country. And then the amazing funeral service that was held on Friday, which was just incredible. Some people were calling President Obama Reverend Obama because they said he spoke more like a person than a president. And now who would have thought that both members of the Republican and the Democrats have been calling for the removal of the Confederate flag, which 1 month ago no one would have imagined would even have been conceivable. I guess it's kind of sad to put it this way, and we certainly would not wish these killings ever happened, and we would have much preferred that we still have these 9 beloved people with us. And yet we know that it's only because of that tragedy that all of this goodness and love has happened. And that's what we say in our faith sometimes, that tragedies can have a purpose, that God has this wonderful ability to turn really bad things into really good things. And it isn't, in our faith, it is not God who causes these tragedies. It's just that God has the last word. And in this case, God decided the devil and evil was not going to win. And then there was the amazing decision on same-sex marriage and on health care, and it just feels like after these 2 weeks that the earth has kind of moved. And I think today our lesson seems to fit so well with these 2 weeks, that God brings good things out of our trials and out of our struggles. And I actually didn't choose this lesson today. This is actually the appointed one for the narrative lectionary which we have today. And let me just say that Lutherans believe that God speaks to us in the Word. That God uses His Word as a way to communicate with us, to give us the good news of His grace. And so we often say that when you hear the Word, it's not like any other word. And when you hear the Word, it's an event as much as it is, it isn't just the content of what we're saying, but as you hear the Word, it's an event. Something happens to you. God speaks to you. And out of hearing that word, our faith is strengthened. And very often it's very personal, because I suspect that each of us who heard this lesson today might have gotten a slightly different word than each other. That God speaks to us through the Word in our own way. And that's what I'd like to focus on today, the idea of how God speaks to us through the Word. And here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to help us today. I'm going to read the lesson. Jill did a beautiful job, and I'm going to read it again. And this time I'm going to read it very slowly. And I would like you just to listen and allow God to speak to you. And what I'd simply like you to do is, as you hear this lesson again, some word or some phrase, something in this lesson, there's a lot of verses here, something in this lesson will stick out for you, or will speak to you, or will have a special meaning to you because of where you are. And so then I would just like you to tell us which verse does that for you. If you want to say a little bit about why you can, but otherwise just which verse speaks to you as you hear this lesson in your own way. And I do need to just tell you that Will, as normal, is he's videotaping our sermons. We normally do that every week, and you can always go on the web and hear them, which means that if you speak something today, we need to advise you that you probably will appear on the videotape as we do that. So if you would now kind of just focus for a minute and relax, and I will read this word slowly, and then again I'll be asking you, Marissa and I will be doing this together, I'll be asking you which words or which phrase or which part of this lesson seems to speak to you. How is God speaking to you today? To the leader of David, a psalm. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the desolate pit, out of the miry bog and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Happy are those who make the Lord their trust, who do not turn to the proud, to those who go astray after false gods. You have multiplied, O Lord my God, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. Were I to proclaim and tell of them, they would be more than can be counted. Sacrifice and offering you do not desire, but you have given me an open ear. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required. And then I said, here I am. In the scroll of the book it is written of me. I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. I have told the glad news of deliverance in the great congregation. See, I have not restrained my lips, as you know, Lord. I have not hidden your saving help within my heart. I have spoken of your faithfulness and your salvation. I have not concealed your steadfast love and your faithfulness from the great congregation. Did you hear? Would someone like to share kind of from what you heard, something that you heard or something that sticks out for you or something that comes to mind as you heard the lesson? Amy.
First, it reminded me of the ways that he was able to make really terrible things in my life that occurred, something positive that happened out in the end. It taught me how to just have trust and faith, because he did this amazing thing for me, for us. And then later on, when he was talking about, happy are those that have faith, I think. So it just reminded me too that we should, like all of our worries that are on our heart now, it just reminded me that, hey, he made everything okay before, he'll make everything okay. Just have that faith again.
Wow, that's really wonderful.
Just relax.
Did you all hear that?
No.
No. Amy shared that she was able to connect with the part where there were some real difficulties in life and how God was there for her at those times, and how it really strengthened her during those times. And then that means that at other times when she faces difficult things, she's reminded to have faith and that it will work out well. Is that sort of?
It's really good.
And what a beautiful message. Yeah. Someone else would like to share what you heard?
I have to agree. The first 4 verses were powerful for me because I'm going through some tough times. And coming back, number 4 is the most powerful statement.
Can you read that for us?
Sure. Happy are those who make the Lord their trust. So no matter how bad it gets, there's somebody there that you can lift you up, like the first 3 say.
Wonderful. Happy are those who make the Lord their trust. Marissa, do you see something?
No, but I was going to jump in and ask if anyone else wanted to share. I can certainly start you off. Verse 10 really spoke to me as we discussed this text at our Bible study on Friday morning. And verse 10 really jumped out at me that when we go through these things and we have these experiences, as Amy and Martin were just sharing, that God really wants us, and this person who wrote this song wants to share those things. That we can't just keep it inside ourselves, but when we give thanks to God, that's not just a personal thing where we pray to God and we say, thank you, God, for being with me and helping me through this, but the commentary I read called it a thank you note to God, that our thank you note to God is actually to help others see where they too can find God. And that is the best thanks that we can give to God is not just to pray ourselves and say thank you, but to share our story and our experience of God's grace with another person, which as Lutherans, is not necessarily our strong suit, but clearly it was an important part of the psalmist's journey here, was sharing the experience with the congregation.
Also, a thank you note to God. Someone else who would just like to share a thought or reflection? Sandy.
The very first line says, I waited patiently for the Lord. So, a lot of times we want things to come right now. Like, why isn't God answering my prayers? Why haven't things happened? But we can wait patiently, everything is in God's time.
And the interesting thing about that is, in retrospect, right, this person can kind of say, I waited patiently. But in the moment, the patience was probably not there. And a better translation actually would be, I waited and waited. And it's funny how I waited and waited turns into, I was really patient. And I think we can all kind of relate to that.
That's wonderful.
I would like to add to that. I was also struck by that first line, but not so much I waited patiently for the Lord, because patience is not one of my assets, unfortunately. But the Lord waited patiently for me, and always waits patiently for me, and that's what's in my heart. The Lord waits for me.
The Lord's patience. Wow. Lindsay.
Yes, well, essentially just what was said, but when my son was very sick, and maybe somebody heard you talk about that, I too was wanted things in my time. I wanted him better and off of his breathing tube and home from the hospital and everything would be fine. And it was only later that I realized that I think a lot of things, like, it was in God's hands. I was emotional, but it was in his hands.
Wow.
And it was, in his time. And it was through that I got that.
And now you are in the place of sending postcards of thanks to God. It's incredible, wonderful. That's awesome. Wonderful, yes. Yes, I think I see another hand back here. Someone else? Well, thank you. You all were very eloquent. That was wonderful. And it's just amazing how the Word touches each of us in some way. And we say in faith that this is the way God speaks to us through His Word, and that Word creates faith in us, that as we communicate with God and He communicates with us, our faith is strengthened and deepened.